let's frame it this way. You agreed to take the payment that Mr. Matlala made to you of 1.5 million and to spend 500,000 of that paying Mr. Matlala's debt or loan to Mr. Maumela.
Yes.
Yes. And then when the second payment came in, you paid 250,000 of that to discharge Mr. Matlala's obligation or to advance a loan on his behalf to Mr. Maumela.
Yes.
And these were not, this had nothing to do with your relationship with Mr. Maumela, it had to do with Mr. Matlala's relationship with Mr. Maumela. So essentially you took 750,000 of your money to pay to Mr. Maumela at the request of Mr. Matlala.
It was not my money. I was going to be replaced. It was not my money. He asked me, he said, I'm giving you this money and I'm going to top you up. I'm going to make good on it.
So no, but either it was your money, in which case you weren't a conduit, or it was Mr. Matlala's money, in which case you were a conduit. Because if it was Mr. Matlala's money all along, then you were really acting as a conduit for Mr. Matlala to pay Mr. Maumela. If it was your money, then you have elected essentially to use your own money to pay Mr. Maumela because that's what Mr. Matlala wants you to do, and you will now have an additional claim against Mr. Matlala to claim that back.
Mr. Matlala asked me to pay that monies and said he'll replace those monies.
So, was it Mr. Matlala's money that you were paying to Mr. Maumela, or do you accept that it was your own money that you were paying to Mr. Maumela?
It was my own money.
So that was the version of how the contract operated when we had regard to your testimony and the statement, but it now seems that you didn't tell us the full extent of your payments. Because the documents that we discovered this morning show that on the 27th of June, there was a 1 million payment from Tasmica, another one of your companies. Well, let's clarify, is Tasmica Construction one of your companies?
Yes.
And did Tasmica pay Medicare 1 million rands on the 27th of June, 1994?
Council, when we received
2024.
Sorry, 2024, okay.
When we received your documents this morning, for me, this was something, I was confused. Because I'd instructed my office to make payments from Ziggy Investments and Tamiz Investments. 5 million from Ziggy and 5 million from Tamiz. When I saw those payments, I then made a call to my office to find out, because the instruction I gave was 5 and 5. And I'm still saying 5 and 5. That payment of Tasmica, I need to go, that's why I asked for more time. I needed to go now and check in my office who actually authorized those payments. Because I've got 2 people in the office or 4 people in the office that deal with payments. I gave them an instruction, I said 5 and 5. At no point did I give them an instruction to pay from Tasmica.
So, are you now saying that that 1 million payment on the 27th of June 2024 was a payment made without your authorization?
I give them instructions, they have access to the bank, they process payments, and they send me...
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Carrim, but this is a very simple question. Did you or did you not authorize the payment of 1 million rands from Tasmica that was paid on 27 June 2024?
Not Tasmica, not Tasmica.
Did you authorize the payment of 1 million from anyone for payment on the 27th of June?
I give instructions, they authorize payments, they do the payments.
No, we're talking past each other. Did you instruct anybody to pay an additional 1 million rands to Medicare 24 on the 27th of June?
No.
So somebody inside your organization took it upon themselves to pay 1 million rands of your company's money without your knowledge or consent?
Yes, I'm confused. Hence, I said to my legal team that I need to get hold of my office. I need to get the people in my office and find out exactly who authorized that payment, because my instructions were very clear. My investment was 10 million. When these payments came, I then tried to call them this morning. They're working remotely, but I need to find out who authorized this payment from my office and who made this payment from my office.
So who have you tried to call today to find this out?
I phoned my payments manager, Mr. Hein van Vuren.
And have you spoken to him today?
Well, I've tried to get hold of him on 2 or 3 occasions now, and we've been busy in here, so.
Well, you were told about these payments, or at any rate your attorneys were told about these payments sometime around about 6 o'clock this morning, and you were aware of them before we started. Had you tried to get hold of Mr.
Yes.
Van Vuren before we started?
Yes, I've tried.
Then there was an adjournment to 11:45. Have you spoken to him since you first tried to get hold of him?
In consultation with my legal team, we said once we break here, we need to call them, once we break for lunch.
I see. So you still haven't spoken to Mr. Van Vuren?
No, I've called, haven't spoken to him yet.
I see. Well, Chair, we are a couple of minutes before the lunch break. This might be a good opportunity to give Mr. Carrim the chance to call Mr. Van Vuren.
Sorry, on this point, I'm just trying to understand, is this payment by Tasmica Construction part of the 10 million, or is it over and above the 10 million reflected in paragraph 12 of your statement?
I'd have to go and check, because my instructions to my office was 5 and 5. That was my agreement. 10 million and nothing more. So I need to get hold of Mr. Van Vuren and Mr. Sayed, who are then in charge of payments in my office, and a certain lady by the name of Shakira, and find out who authorized this payment from Tasmica.
Yep.
Can I just follow up, because I can clarify Commissioner Kumalo's question. If you go to page S3, 3 of your statement bundle.
Yeah. Yes.
There you will see how the 10 million that you refer to there is made up. It's 5 million from Ziggy on 26 June. It's 2.5 million from Tamiz on 7 July. It's 1.5 million from Tamiz on 15 July, and it's 1 million from Tamiz on 24 July.
Sorry, Mr. CHASKALSON. Mr. Carrim, this discussion about this additional loan that you say this is what this WhatsApp message was about, when did that discussion happen?
It started around December when he wanted more funding.
Okay. And you say it started in December and continued when?
Continued-
When before this WhatsApp message?
Yeah, he continued post this message as well. He was looking for more funding.
Yes. You see, I'm asking because on that page 2, you have an afternoon. You send him afternoon on the 30th of December, and the next thing that happens in the series of communication is that WhatsApp message on the 7th of January. So there's no intervening communication between the two of you that accords with the explanation you are giving now about this WhatsApp message. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, I don't understand, Council. Commissioner.
You say, you explain this WhatsApp message of the 7th of January as being about him wanting to talk to you about a loan. And what I'm saying to you, what I'm not seeing is a trail of communication between the 30th of December, which was the last message from you in 2024, where you say afternoon, and the next message from him on the 7th of January, there's nothing in between the two communication or pieces of communication which accords with your explanation or your attempted explanation of the message of the 7th. I would have expected to see either missed telephone calls in between, and then you would then testify and say, well, in those telephone calls, he told me he wanted to come and talk about the 10 million rand. But we don't have that.
There's a call on the 30th.
Yes? What about it?
I'm saying there's a call on the 30th. There was a few calls. We spoke about this additional funding.
Yes.
And I see my messages only start from the 11th of December.
Yes.
But there's many calls prior to this, and I'm sure if we can get his records, and even when he comes here, I'm sure he'll be able to tell you that he really needed extra funding. And he was looking for that 10 million to top up.
Yes, he may well have needed extra funding, and he may well have had that conversation with you, but your explanation of the WhatsApp of the 7th of January, that it was to talk about the funding, it doesn't accord with this series of communication on the 30th of December, and then you get a message that's very specific. He wants to speak to you to see you rather, before he sends invoices. That's what he says to you, and then you say, well, it was about funding. It had to do with the additional funding. I don't understand that explanation. At least it's not reflected in these communications.
He wanted to show me the invoices. We spoke about this. He wanted to show me and say, here's invoices. Let's discuss. I'm sending these invoices in. Can you, based on what I'm sending in, can you then top up so much or so much, because here's the invoices going in.
Yes.
I assisted him in no way to submit any invoices.
My point exactly, that you know that he wanted to, he's telling you about seeing you before he sends invoices. You know that he wants to show you the invoices because he wants to back up a request for payment, a request for a further loan, but there's nothing in this correspondence that supports that. You are giving an explanation to a message of the 7th, which is not backed up by anything that is on the face of that message.
But that was what transpired. We didn't even meet after that.
But do you accept that this message, on the face of it, it doesn't convey what you're saying? As I understand it, what you're conveying is he wanted to show you these invoices before he sends them off because he wanted to back up his request for funding, for further funding. That's what you're saying. Do you accept what I say to you? But this message itself, when you read this message together, especially together with your last message to him, there's nothing that backs up that explanation you are giving.
I'm sure when he comes here, he'll be able to back this up. Definitely.
Thank you.
If we go back to what actually happened in the operation of the contract, your evidence yesterday was, although the agreement was that you would get 10% of the income that you were entitled to when SAP started paying in September, you didn't take it because you let Mr. Matlala keep that because he had cash flow problems.
He wanted to recover his site establishment costs.
Yes, but in terms of your agreement with him, you were entitled to take 10%. You had put up 10 million and you were going to get paid back 10% of all revenue that the contract generated.
Yes.
And you elected essentially to waive that right.
We had a meeting, and in that meeting we agreed that we'll allow that one to pass. But there were other invoices that were paid which was not disclosed to me.
Other invoices that were paid when?
I'm not sure, but in between the periods where my people were removed from, or my person was removed. That's what I suspect. I don't have the proof of that, but that's my suspicion.
And have you managed to pin down those dates with better particularity as to when your people were there and when they weren't?
I've requested them. I should be getting those, and I will hand them over to you.
Thanks. If we move on, it says, well, when we move on, we see that when you finally start getting your payments, you agreed to act as a conduit for Mr. Matlala to pay Mr. Maumela a third of the first payment and a quarter of the gross second payment, which was in fact the same as 50% of the net second payment.
Council, I never said that yesterday. I was given two options by the commissioner yesterday, and I refused to accept that I was a conduit. There were two options given to me yesterday, and if we can go back to the transcripts, I had said I took the first option. I just need to go there and tell you what it was. But I didn't say that I was a conduit.
Well, we can see what the...
So, okay.
So? Sorry, Mr. Carrim, I thought you were about to say something.
No.
So ordinarily, what would happen when your accountant sees a payment of 1 million rands that just says payment to loan and it doesn't describe who that loan is to or from? Who do they ask?
They talk to the office. I've got a lady that captures on the instructions of Mr. Van Vieren.
So someone in the office would then have had to have looked at this 1 million payment to say, account for it this way.
Yes, Mr. Van Vieren would look at it and then instruct the capturer who captures these for accounting purposes and give them the reasons.
And how often are Tasmica's accounts prepared? Do you have 6 monthly accounts, annual accounts? I mean, obviously you're going to have a sort of working accounts, but do you prepare 6 monthly financial statements? Do you prepare annual financial statements?
Annual financial statements.
And Tasmica tenders for local government and provincial contracts, does it not?
Yes.
So it needs audited financial statements.
Yes.
So auditors will then have to look at these accounts.
Yes.
And an auditor, when is financial year end for Tasmica?
It should be Feb.
Feb.
Yeah.
So this payment would have been financial year end February last year.
Yes.
And do you have audited financial statements for 2025 yet?
I'd have to check with the auditors. And
How long does it ordinarily take for your auditors to prepare audited financial statements?
I have 2 accountants or 3. I just need to check who's looking after this.
No, my question's slightly different. It's how long does it ordinarily take them to prepare audited financial statements? How long do you normally have to wait before you get your financial statements?
A couple of months.
Couple of months.
Yeah.
By mid-year, you should have financials for the previous February, shouldn't you?
I speak under correction, but yes, around mid-year.
So you would...
Do you mean from date of year end?
From date of year end. So by now, you ought to have audited financial statements for year end February 2025.
That was last year. Yeah, I'd have to check, yes.
We're 13 months down the line.
Yes, I presume, yes.
So these payments of 1 million on 27 June and 1,120,000 to loan on 7 October seem to have escaped the auditors as well.
Yes, we need to check. That's why I'm saying something doesn't look good here.
No, something certainly doesn't look good here.
Yes, so even for me, that's why I requested more time and a postponement so that I could get to the bottom of this, because this is troubling me now. It's a lot of money, and between Mr. Van Vieren and the capturer, I need to find out what happened here.
It may not just be Mr. Van Vuren and the capturer, because these amounts were paid to Medicare 24. And certainly the October amount, the 1.12 million payment, was paid in a period where either Mr. Kerr or Mr. Mohammed would have had sight of payments into Medicare 24's account.
No, Council, they were not in. Mr. Khair was already removed at that time. Mr. Mohammed got in a bit later.
So this was just in a window between Mr. Khair and Mr. Mohammed.
Yes.
Have you established what those dates are?
I will get them, and they will be sent to you by tonight.
I see. So this 1.12 million payment you believe to have been made in a window between their two periods of oversight of the Medicare 24 accounts.
Yes.
Now, as far as you're concerned, this is an unauthorized payment. It's just money misappropriated from Tasmica.
Yes, I didn't authorize these payments.
So what Medicare 24 owes you, in fact, is not 8.25 million, well, is not 18.25 million. It's actually more than 20 million, because it owes you another 2.12 million. Do you agree with that?
I think after we check and confirm from all these bank accounts, we'll then be able to determine the correct figure.
But as you stand today, your position is that Medicare, or before you were alerted to these payments, your position was that Medicare owed you the 8.25 that it hadn't paid you back, together with the 10 million that it was obliged to pay you over and above what you'd put in. So that was 18.25 was what Medicare owed you.
Correct.
And now it seems to be that there is another 2,120,000 that you paid Medicare and that ought to be paid back to you from Medicare.
From these bank statements, yes.
Before we leave these bank statements, can I ask you to go to the October bank statement? The bank statement of Medicare, not of Tasmica.
Now, what page is that, Councillor?
My page is 551. But it's the Medicare bank statement. Maybe let's start on the previous page, 550, where we will see the Tasmica payment. Do you see on 7th of October in the Medicare accounts, there is a payment of 1,120,000. That's the Tasmica payment at the foot of the page on 550.
550.
550, yes. I'm starting with the Tasmica payment.
Yes.
Then if you go to the next page, 551, 9th October, about 7 or 8 lines from the bottom, you'll see that there was a 3 million payment into Medicare, 3 million CR. You see that? F&B OB payment loan.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about that 3 million payment?
No, it's the first time I'm seeing this payment. I don't know about that payment.
And do you know anything, so as far as you're concerned, none of your companies have anything to do with that 3 million payment?
Sorry, our learned friend's going a bit quickly for us. 3 million payment on page?
It's page 551, 9th of October. Thank
you.
It's 8 from the bottom. So that payment of a 3 million loan into Medicare 24, you say you know nothing about?
No.
Have you ever made payments through a hawala system in commercial dealings?
Excuse me, can you repeat that?
Hawala payments. Have you made payments through a hawala system in commercial dealings?
No.
No. And to the best of your knowledge, if we investigate this payment, we won't find a trail back to any of your companies.
I guarantee you, Council.
Well, I don't think you can guarantee it to me because you've just told me 2.12 million went missing out of your accounts without your knowledge.
You said it came via an Havala system. I don't use Havala system.
Yes, but it seems that you don't, you can't speak with total authority about what goes in and out of your accounts.
True. Yes, I see that.
You see that? Yes. Now, your evidence yesterday was that over the period August to October 2023, you and Mr. Maumela were busy putting together a joint venture in a chrome mining operation. You recall that?
Yes.
And you'd already become friends because you purchased his house the previous year in 2022.
Yes.
So, what you're saying to us today is that in August and September 2023, you put up funds to interdict the award of a tender to a party other than Mr. Maumela's company who had lost the tender, and you successfully interdicted that, or your funds successfully contributed to the interdicting of that award. You were engaged in a joint venture with Mr. Maumela at the same time, a 50 million rand joint venture about a chrome mine. You had become friends because he had sold the house to you. But you had no idea that this interdict that you were running in the Northwest just happened to assist his company, Alu Construction, to have another attempt at winning the tender. Is that your evidence?
Yes.
I'm afraid I have to put it to you that that evidence is false.
No, sir, that's not what happened.
So Mr. Maumela never mentioned to you that in your backyard he was bidding for a contract with the Department of Health?
No, he didn't.
And you just weren't aware when you put up this money to fund the litigation that just happened to be of great assistance to Mr. Maumela, that you were helping out your good friend and current business partner? You weren't aware?
No.
I see. I'm going to move away from Mr. Maumela now, so if there are any questions that anybody wants to ask, well, then let me move. Can we go back now to discuss your arrangements with Mr. Matlala around the Medicare contract? You deal with them in your statement from paragraph sorry, if you can just bear with me for a minute.
Sorry, can we put file 2 away? We need to make some space here. It gets a bit...
Yes, we can. We might need to come back to. We might need to come back to file 2. I think about 10-15 minutes. The version in your statement about your arrangement with Mr. Matlala was that this was, and it's in paragraphs 11 and 12 on page 3 of your statement, It was a relatively simple agreement. You advanced 10 million. You will be repaid, you'll get a return of an additional 10 million over the 3-year contract, and repayments will take the form of 10% of all payments. And you explain the monies that you advanced in respect of that agreement. That was the version in the statement. You said that you had no relationship with Mr. Matlala, or no commercial relationship with Mr. Matlala before. So you were dealing with him in a commercial context for the very first time.
Yes.
Yes. And he made an unsolicited approach to you for the money.
And
An unsolicited approach to you. It's not that you approached him, he approached you.
he approached me, yes.
And on what? How did he introduce himself? How did he say he came to you?
I explained that yesterday, Council.
Yes. You just say he knew you from the security industry and he arrived up in a Rolls Royce.
No. I said he contacted one of my security personnel who's on the website and requested my number there.
Yes. So he knew you from the security industry, which is how he at any rate said that he came to you. You took no security for your loan, the 10 million that you were lending. There was no security.
No.
No. You didn't conclude a written contract in respect of the loan. We've covered this yesterday. I'm just setting up the curious features of this. That was the version that we saw in the statement. But it turned out that the statement didn't describe the whole story because you amplified considerably in your evidence. Your first piece of amplification was that you explained that for a while Mr. Matlala asked you for help with an accountant.
And that was much later into the contract, much later. It was around October.
October. So he asked you for help with an accountant to assist him with his business, and that was in October.
End of October, yeah.
Yes. But you didn't mention that in your statement.
Yeah, that was not in my statement. Yes.
Is there any reason why you didn't mention it?
No, there's no reason.
And you said that you had Mr. Mohammed sitting on a board committee of Medicare 2024 for a while to look after your interests.
It wasn't on the board. It was a finance committee.
A finance committee. So it wasn't the board itself. It was